Hey friends, I've been sampling again. Goodness gracious, I order samples upon samples upon samples. And if I test 100 samples, maybe I talk to you about 10 of them or so. So I have some Sarah Baker, I have Theodoros Kalotinis, and a few others that you may have never heard of. Well, a couple of other popular ones. Let's get into it. I want to start off with perhaps a follow up to a review that I did on the scent LAC.TON.IC from Scentologia. There was something about it that kept drawing me back to it, even though I said in the review that I thought it was a nice gourmand, but a little bit too maybe masculine and heavy for my taste. I still remained interested in it and I couldn't tell why. And I understand now why. It's because it reminds me of something. And so I didn't associate that something else that I smell almost on a frequent basis now was reminding me back of the sample of Scentologia. It's milky, it's nutty, vanilla, sandalwood, supposed to have some florals, caramel. It's like this whole concoction mixed up of different kinds of gourmand notes and some woody notes. And I thought it was nice, but a little masculine for my taste. And then I realized that it reminded me so much of Sol de Janeiro Brazilian Crushed Rosa 71. Here's how I came upon this conclusion. I have been spraying this in my shower. So I'll heat up my water in the shower, let it run for a few minutes. And then as the steam starts to come up out of the shower, I'll spray some kind of body spray or something in there to kind of set a scent mood as I bathe. It's like walking into like a gourmand spa or something. So this is one that I've been using frequently. As you can see, I'm almost down to the end. And I kept stepping into the vapors and thinking, gosh, this reminds me of something. It's that. This is to me what LAC.TON.IC Scentologia smells like, except that one, the Scentologia one, has a little bit more of a woody, kind of slightly masculine lean to it. Let me know your thoughts if you have LAC.TON.IC or tried it and if you can see the association between the two. So we're going to first get into the 4 Theodoros Kalotinis new gourmand releases. Let me know if you've tried any of these and what your thoughts are. If you're not interested in them, please feel free to skip ahead. I'm going to start off with the one that I liked the least and work my way from there. First up is tiramisu. I actually had the highest hopes for tiramisu because I like tiramisu as a dessert, but then realized as I sniffed this that 1, it smells exactly like tiramisu, and 2, maybe that's not the kind of gourmand scent that I want to smell like. And I'll share why. The words that came to mind, I'm looking down at my notes, excuse me, that came to mind to me as I tried this out were it smelled like literal Kahlua, like the drink mix. And I like Kahlua. I like the way that it tastes. I like the whole like mudslide kind of taste. So it smelled like Kahlua plus some heavy vanilla extract. When you have tiramisu, as the coffee and other sort of moist products sink into the mixture, the concoction that creates the dessert, there's a spongy section of the dessert and it tastes good. It's almost like a soaked, almost bready, airy bready kind of taste to it with Kahlua and coffee and maybe, I think it's butter and I forget what else is in there. This fragrance smelled like the spongy part tastes. Okay, that's what I kind of got out of that with Kahlua and that vanilla extract. And I guess there was something a little bit too much in the Kahlua direction. Perhaps it was a little bit too coffee-esque for me. I've moved away from coffee fragrances. There are some beautiful coffee fragrances that I still enjoy smelling on other folks. But so tiramisu, I think, was my least favorite. It is very literal tiramisu. So if you like the smell of that dessert, maybe check that out. Give it a thumbs up in terms of the interpretation of the dessert as a smell. So then I'll go to one that I had a little bit of trouble with at the beginning, but I liked it more in the dry down, and that is the matcha ice cream release. In the beginning, it smelled a lot like, I called it stale hot air and like nougats, like the nougat candy plus tea. So imagine stale hot air, like summertime stale air, almost like a nutty creaminess of nougat plus tea together. It was just a weird opening to me. I didn't like it. I kind of hated it. It also smelled rather green to me, which I guess is supposed to be the matcha part of it. I will say though, when this dried down, and I'm talking about into the far dry down, I was like, this is actually kind of a cool fragrance. And in that section, that portion of the fragrance experience, it smelled a lot like lemon custard or maybe even like a cold lemon bar. Like the ones that you heat up in the oven and you put the confectioner's sugar on top and it's very sweet and lemony. It even reminded me of the Zara fragrance, A Sweet Pastry in Paris. If you ever tried that, it kind of had that kind of vibe. And I thought that it was quite delightful on the deep dry down. So this is one where, in my opinion, you'd have to suffer past the opening in anticipation of this really fun dry down. So I give the dry down a thumbs up, but the beginning of this fragrance was a fail. So do with that what you will in terms of, an opinion that may be helpful for you to hear. Then we go to Peach Macaron. The opening of this reminded me so much of canned peaches, or even the kind of peaches that you get in a school cafeteria, where they're in the little plastic cup and you roll it back. The idea being that you have peaches inside a syrup. So it gave me that pretty strongly. I don't like that kind of peach opening. It's way too strong. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I didn't care for Sarah Baker's Peaches Revenge, because it was too like syrupy, sticky, peachy to me. I like a little bit more of a lighter peach, apparently. The deep, syrupy, peachy scent that you get in a can of peaches, I don't want to smell like that. So it wasn't off-putting, but I just knew that it wasn't necessarily for me. Like, think the juice, the syrupy nature of it and all. However, Peach Macaron, as it continued to evolve and develop, if you will, on my skin, it smelled a lot like peach lollipops is what came to mind. I've never even had a peach lollipop, but that is the image that popped into my head, like a delicious lollipop that had a peach flavor to it. And it also smelled like fruity ice cream that had a fruity flavor to it together. And it worked. So in the dry down, Peach Macaron got a pretty big thumbs up from me. I found it to be novel and interesting and pretty great for a late spring into summer. If you're a peach fan and you like the idea of like peach and ice cream together, that's appealing to you. And then my favorite of the four, like if I were to consider getting a bottle, this would be the one that I would go to first. And that is MARZIPAN Gourmand. This opened up like a cherry liqueur and licorice opening, which is interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of licorice. I don't even know if there's licorice in the fragrance, but that's what came to mind for me as I sniffed it. Cherry liqueur plus licorice. And I liked it. I didn't love it on the opening. I was like, this is interesting. Let's see where this goes. And it's the dry down of this that was very comforting and appealing for me, and something that I would like to smell like this fall particularly. And that is, it smelled bready, like fresh bread. It also smelled grainy. Like if you can imagine a loaf of bread that has a very sort of grainy texture to it, maybe has some nuts baked into it, like on the surface of the bread, that sort of thing. And it also smelled nutty itself. So in addition to smelling like maybe like a nut bread, it smelled nutty on top of that also. And it was very comforting. It had a little bit of a sweet edge without being sugary. And I really quite enjoyed it. And I found it nostalgic, familiar, and comforting, which I love. So that's MARZIPAN Gourmand as my first choice of the four, maybe followed by Peach Macaron, then matcha ice cream, and I think tiramisu would be in fourth place for me. Interesting set, very literal, and I think as a group of four, a powerful release of gourmands. So then, unfortunately, I don't think the House of Sarah Baker, at least not their like gourmand leaning fragrances, are for me. There are some others from the house that I think I have enjoyed. Let's go to Rococo Pie. Like, I had a lot of nerve even ordering these samples because I haven't had good luck with the gourmand leaning fragrances from Sarah Baker. This one was, I mean, I hate to say this, it sounds rude, but it felt like a chemical mess. And peaches were, or are, the lead bully in the fragrance. That's kind of it. It was a lot of like harsh chemicals to me. It's the kind of peach that I dislike in fragrances that makes me recoil a bit because it smells sharp, almost like it's out of an aerosol can. And it just felt very like messy, incohesive, undecisive. Like I didn't know what kind of fragrance it wanted to be. So I'm going to pass on Rococo Pie. Let me know if you have tried it. And if so, did you have a different experience? Please do share your thoughts in the comments. I welcome other opinions so that people that are reading through the comments can make up their own minds about whether they want to try it, and maybe my experience was not the norm. And so next is Pastel Rumors. This one I also have like written down no in capital letters with an exclamation point. I found this insanely sweet. It was very tart. It smelled to me like strong, hard candy vibes. Like if you think about hard candies that you put in your mouth and they melt, think about that with a lot of tartness to it. It was thick, creamy, and tangy. You got some sweetness into the dry down, but it opened up super tart and it was just distracting to me. I didn't really care for this. And I wrote down that the deep dry down was rude, that it was rude to me that it smelled like rotten candies. And so, unfortunately, both of these are a pass, and I really don't want to sample them again. Let me know if you have tried either one of these and if you had a completely different experience. I did have a chance to try Pacific Rock Flower from Goldfield and Banks. I've tried Pacific Rock Moss, found that to be a little masculine leaning, but so good as a refreshing, almost marine-like fresh air with like water spritzing through it, with citrusy notes and perhaps even something in like a mint direction, something like that. I don't remember, I haven't tried it in a long time, but I remember that I liked it and found it really fresh and vibrant and uplifting and almost like airy. So Pacific Rock Moss, I was hoping would be like a feminine leaning version of that fragrance. I also was hoping that it had some floral notes, or at least some floral notes that I could personally distinguish and enjoy. And so, this one felt a lot like the original Pacific Rock Moss without maybe a full leaning masculine edge to it, but I still felt like it had some masculine overtones. I got a lot of lemon out of it, super salty and almost like, I'm gonna make up a term here, but like an aquatic smelling musk. It is a woody fragrance also. I don't think there's any musk in the fragrance or in the notes listed. But so yeah, citrus, like the term I made up, aquatic musk. I didn't really get much femininity from this. That said, it is a fabulous fragrance, one that I would love to smell on my husband. I don't know that this is the kind of fragrance that I want to smell like these days, but I do think it is a thumbs up in general as a unisex leaning masculine fragrance. And if you've tried Bunny from Day 3, it's almost like a masculine cousin to that fragrance. And so that's Pacific Rock Moss. I found the packaging to be, at least for me, slightly misleading because it made me think about something a little bit more feminine. So that's, my own issue with how I perceive the bottle. Again, let me know if you have tried this and if you had a different experience and found it to be a winner. I did try Breathe from Akro. I knew going into that sampling experience that reviews said it smelled more masculine, but I was just curious and I'm glad I gave it a try. It's classified as an aromatic aquatic fragrance. Notes are lavender, bergamot, water notes, and musk. And it really does just smell like that. It's aromatic and it's like very watery and musky. And I could see this being like a meditative fragrance for a gentleman. As a lady, I don't think I am particularly drawn to this kind of scent. Would I want this as like a home air freshener? Sure, I could see this sort of pumping through a hotel lobby. I could see it pumping through a home aroma sort of system, one of those kind of systems that uses mist to distribute scent through the house. It's sort of meditative. I love that it's called Breathe because it reminds me of that. Yeah, this is something that I would absolutely love to smell on a gentleman. It reminds me a little bit of the like late 80s, early 90s men's aquatic fragrances. It leans in that direction with an aromatic touch to it. It has a very sort of cooling, icy feel to it. So it's refreshing, icy, aromatic, meditative, quite nice. Not for me, but definitely lovely to try out if that kind of fragrance appeals to you. I took a chance and tried a fragrance. I'm going to attempt this pronunciation. Forgive me if I'm wrong. HARU from Wait. The house is WA:"IT, Wait. So I've tried other fragrances from this house and kind of struck out. And so, it's sort of like one of those last ditch efforts to try something and see if the house appealed to me. I think this is one of the most fabulous underrated fragrances that I have tried all year. It's got this warm, almost golden, sort of honey-esque, but not heavy honey type of tone. It's almost like just like the sweetness of honey, maybe more in ambery form, but citrus also. There was something so warm and inviting and cozy about this fragrance. Fairly unisex with like a little wink in the masculine direction, but not anything that I wouldn't feel uncomfortable, or comfortable rather. I would feel completely comfortable wearing this fragrance is what I meant to say. Some of the notes here, there's a bit of a spicy nuance. You've got cardamom and black pepper. I would say a base of woody amberiness. There's some softness to this and citrus. It felt very much like a warm winter hug from someone with great confidence and authority. Male or female. It's lovely and it's on my wish list. I'm trying to see if my husband would like a full bottle. It smelled fantastic on his skin. It's the kind of thing that I would want to have on his shelf and sneak and wear it, a few times a year because it's very like intoxicating in a warm and cozy way. Kind of keeps you sniffing for more. There's the hint of citrus, like I said, sitting on this slightly, ever so slightly spicy, deeper ambery woody base. And it has this like je ne sais quoi factor here that kind of puts you in a mindset of like sophisticated coziness is all I can think of. Really a neat fragrance. I wanted to try this next fragrance based purely on the interesting bottle. Yes, I can be shallow like that. It's called Double Bond. I am not sure of the pronunciation of the house. I'm going to go with Bruno Perrucci. It's not like the notes appealed to me, but there was something about the way that this looked and the fabulous reviews that this got that I was like, let me try it. There's no harm in trying it. This fragrance opens up really interesting, almost nearly rude, but not quite. You're leaning in going, woo, what am I smelling here? It's very minty and like warm. It's warm, almost like it has a deep vanillic base with mint in the opening. Super interesting. As it starts to dry down, you get more of this cacao nuance to it with coconut. There's tonka bean in the fragrance that I find to be particularly prominent. So it's warm, vanillic, cozy, almost like a cloud-like nature. Like it has this fuzziness to it. And yet you have this peculiar mint note hanging out with all of that, along with the cacao. Kind of fascinating where you're like, what am I smelling? And do I like it? Or do I love it? Or do I hate it? I don't hate it at all. I do like it a lot. I don't know that this is something I want a full bottle of, but it's very, very novel. One that I would suggest checking out. And if you're into fragrances for the artistry of the blend, this is one that I think is a must try just because it's unique and different. And it's got some appeal. I mean, it has those like a gourmand background with this really interesting modern overlay from the minty feature here. I don't know. It just kind of works. It just kind of works. So that is Double Bond. Suggest you give that a try. It seems like it would be a super strong projecting fragrance too. I haven't, given it a full day wear, so I can't speak to that. Then I want to talk about 3 fragrances that went on the wish list. I really like these. There's one that I'm pretty certain I'm going to end up with a full bottle of. I've already ordered a travel spray based off of the sample. And if that travel spray tells me the same story that the sample did, I will buy a full bottle. But let's start with the other 2. Again, I'm not entirely sure the pronunciation here. LIPSENS. Nope. You can ignore me trying to create a French pronunciation for this name. It's actually just a combination of the word lips, like the lips on your face, and the first syllable of sensuality, LIPSENS. This is a sweet, slightly fruity, vanillic, warm fragrance. That's kind of it. There's no surprises. It's a very sort of familiar profile, but I like it, and I like that it's subtle and inviting. Sweet, slightly fruity, vanillic warmth. Boom, end of story. I think this might be a nice one for the fall as we get into cooler weather here. Oh, I just got what this reminds me of. I fell in love with Vanille Noon or 12 or whatever it is from Francesca Del Oro. Do you guys remember that whole thing? I mean, I have that and love it. That's what this fragrance reminds me of. Now that I'm sniffing it again, I'm wondering if this has some kind of fruity background, like maybe a pear note like that other one does, the Francesca Del Oro. And it's also giving me a little bit of gentle fluidity gold, like the juniper berry aspect to it. Let me look up the notes and see if we are on the money or far off. Peach, pink pepper, sugar, vanilla, musk, amber, and powdery notes in the base. I think this is great. I would keep my eye on this one. I gave it a good big star. And then I wanted to share with you, for those of you that were into the discontinued YSL Belle d'Opium, I have a bottle of that and I use it sparingly because it's beautiful, amazing, warm, floral, just goodness. It's like a mother's hug in a bottle. I have this crazy video idea. Let me know if you're interested. It's called Mom Nilla Perfumes. Like Godzilla, except Mom Nilla, like mother plus vanilla. You get the idea, like a mother's hug in a bottle. Are you interested in something like that? Because Belle d'Opium would be the kind of fragrance that I would put in there. This one is called Liqueur d'Osmanthus. I smelled this and immediately was thrown back. I had a memory of sniffing another fragrance and I thought, what in the world? It is Belle d'Opium. It's almost like it could be a substitute for that. Maybe not like a one-to-one, but close enough that if you're missing Belle d'Opium, this might scratch the itch. It also reminded me of Tuberose or Tuberose Mystique from Bulgari. If you've tried that one, it's got the tuberose, and I think there's jasmine in that one as well. And this almost like nutty, almondy, tonka bean, vanillic, beautiful, warm, enveloping background. This one hits the nose on the head too. The main adjectives, warm, sensual, and feminine. This is beautiful. And I'm very interested in a bottle of this one, but I have Belle d'Opium and I have Tuberose Mystique. But gosh, this is intoxicating. This is so, so good. It even has like almost like a chocolatey background way deep in there, like Fève Gourmand. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Maybe I need to move this up the list. Maybe I need to move this up the list. So that's Liqueur d'Osmanth. Osmanthus. I was trying to sound, y'all. I was trying to hit the pronunciation. Liqueur d'Osmanthus. And then the one that I was dying to talk with y'all about because I fell in love on second sniff. I wouldn't say first sniff. I tried it and thought, that's quite nice. Put it aside. I was sniffing like, you know, a million samples as I usually do. Not a good way to test samples, friends. And I came back to this over a week later and I was like, this is kind of intoxicating. Because what I do when I sample, how do you sample? Like, what is your process? Me, I put it into a no category. I don't think I ever want to smell these again, right? They have to offend me to go over there. Just be like, anyway. And then I have a middle category that I'm just not sure. I think is nice, but I want to revisit in a different time, different setting with a settled mind. And then I put others in another category that I think are like an immediate yes. So this one went into the middle category. And then when I tried it again, it shot up to #1 out of all of the samples that I tried. So this is from Sensatio or Sensatio Golden Pistachio. Let us spend a minute talking about this amazingness. So like I said, I've got a travel spray of this on the way because I want to make sure this is not an inexpensive fragrance, that I am going to love it. It opens up with a fairly like creamy, nearly powdery, true pistachio smell, like crushed up pistachios. Also in the opening is apple and pear and rum and bergamot. I can see like some sort of sweet fruitiness in the opening. It's a sort of a thick pistachio, slightly fruity opening. And I'm thinking like crushed pistachio. Actually, it says there's almond in the opening, but I feel like I get pistachio immediately. In the heart, peony ice cream. Oh my God, you smell the ice cream. Pistachio, coumarin. And coumarin is not cumin. They're different notes and it can have like a nutty scent to it. In the base, tonka bean, musk, vanilla, and sandalwood. This is my kind of gourmand. It is amazing, amazing. And it's the opening is really nice, but then the mid and the dry down, they pull you from here, from the middle of your heart, like, and it turns into this princess gourmand, this cozy, beautiful concoction that is so warm, like a hug in a bottle, plus like a hint of dessert, not too literal, right? Like the Theodoros Kalotinis gourmands are literal. You're going to smell like the thing says it smells. Oh my gosh, this is freaking amazing. So here are some of the adjectives and description that I wrote down. Gentle, pillowy, nutty, creamy, clean, warm, innocent, coquettish. I wrote down that it reminded me of Rose Arabia White from Whittian, which I have gone bananas over. Printemps Blanc, which is my #1 selection of new releases in 2025. And it dawned on me the other day as I was sampling this yet again that it also slightly reminds me of Kayali's Yum Bougie Marshmallow. What the heck is the name of that? No, I'm sorry, not Yum Bougie Marshmallow. Kayali's, these dang names. Pistachio Gelato, Yum Pistachio. Hold on, wait a minute. There it is. Goodness gracious. Yum Pistachio Gelato 33. So this fragrance is like aspects of all of those. The Whittian, the Kayali, the Maison Mataha. Oh, wow. Captivating. In fact, it also has aspects of Marshmallow Musk from Irfe, another beautiful release. This is me in a bottle gourmand form if I had to choose one. This is it. This is it. Like, I could hang up any other gourmand in my collection. Okay, that's a little extreme. But today, in this video, I could hang up any other gourmand and maybe just wear golden pistachio for forever. Forever, ever. 10 out of 10 for this one. Absolutely magnificent. My hair has not been cooperating. Sorry, that's been sticking out the whole time. That little piece of hair was excited and wanted to tell the story of golden pistachio. I hope that you enjoyed this review. Let me know if you've tried any of these, and if so, what your thoughts are. I'd be super, super curious to hear. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Take care.